Hi, I'm Jane Halliwell Green, and I'm back with my pixelating video that you've all been waiting for. And to do this correctly, I need to show you a rug that has been heavily pixelated. We'll start there. This is a rug that I hooked a few years back for the playing card exhibit that traveled across the country. And what I want you to see in looking at this, if you look at the front, it's the Jack of Hearts, and you can see that behind the figure there's a lot of texture. That bush that you see behind this figure is pixelated. Now the basket is Baby Proddy. That's also in the book that I've just, the Pictorial Hooked Rugs book that just came out. But I really want you to focus on the pixelating. Notice that there's light, medium, and dark areas. And there's a lot of texture. Now I'm going to turn it over so you can see what the back looks like, because the back really shows you that it's very, very rough. It's bundles of loops, and you can see between those loops there's a lot of the backing showing through. Now, when you do a piece like this, and it's kind of labor intensive, it does take longer to pixelate than it does to hook a regular loop. You use a lot of wool, and you use wool that's divided into your light, your medium, and your dark values. I sell a lot of wool. You can see I make a lot of wool. I'm sitting here in my studio, and that is the most important part of your rug. Use good quality wool. But look down here and you'll see that I've got piles of different greens. This is an example of what I might have put in my Jack of Hearts. I would have had lights, I would have had some medium colors, and then I would have had some darks. And in those piles I would have some spot dyes, I would have some brash materials, I would have some plaids in here, lots of different textures, and those materials would be mixed when I pixelated the bush behind the Jack of Hearts. Now, I'm going to set him aside for a minute because I want to show you a little more clearly what I'm talking about. I have a wide strip of wool in my hand. And when we hook normally, we hold the wool flat between our fingers underneath our backing. And with our hooks, we go in and we pull up a very flat loop. Okay, so it's a beautiful flat loop, just like that, when it comes to the surface of your work. But when you pixelate, it's completely different. You twist the wool underneath the backing. So it's all twisted like this in your fingers. So when you put your hook in and you pull up the loop, you have an extremely twisted, nubby, textured piece of material. It makes it's very, very, it has a lot of texture. You're just feeling it. It's not flat, it's not even. And if you combine hundreds of these little textured loops, you're ending up doing the pixelating that I talk about in my book. Now, a detailed description of this technique is available in Pictorial Hooked Rugs, which just came out a couple of weeks ago. And the detailed instructions are on page 81. Okay, I'm going to open up the book so you can see, and it gives you a step-by-step. However, I'm a visual person myself, and it helps me if I see the actual technique done. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to close Pictorial Hooked Rugs and set it aside. And we'll pull out a hoop, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. By the way, I'm using my new hook. You can see it's a fancy hook, but I'm calling it the Luck of the Irish hook, and they'll be coming out in a couple of weeks. They'll be available on my website, www.rugandwool.com. So keep your eyes open for them, and look for the Luck of the Irish. They're really fun to hook with because they have lots of colors and they're very comfortable in the hand. Now, I'm going to actually do this. And I'm going to show you by doing a tall, spiky flower like a lupine or a gloxinia, because that's a great place to use pixelating. I've drawn a couple of straight lines, okay? Just pretend this is the garden. And these are my stems, okay? So you can see, I hook my stem first. What I want to do is just continue to come down here. If you can come right down a little, make this a little bit longer. And I'm using a 6 cut. You can pixelate with a number 3 up to a number 9. The wider your cut, the more dramatic your pixelating will be. So I just come straight down and hook a stem the way we normally hook, with nice flat regular loops. And once I'm satisfied, that I've got my stem in, I use a variety of colors, and I've got some, this is a casserole with some pink on the end and some purple. I like to use casseroles for this type of pixelating. And I'll start at the top and I'll hug the stem, and underneath I am twisting my loop so that when I pull it up in a little bundle, and I think of this a little bit like a French knot. I think if you think of it like a French knot, that will help you to visualize. Now, if the camera gets really close, you can see just how nubby that is. And I'm going to come down the stem, and if you're using a casserole, which I do a lot of, and I sell quite a few on my website, you can get the change out in color when you're doing something like this, is what I like. I like a natural change in color. And I'm coming right down my stem, and I'm twisting, and I'm doing 3 loops sometimes. Sometimes I'm doing 2. Maybe sometimes I'll do 4. Depends upon how large the object I'm pixelating is. And I'm coming down, and you can see that it's starting to look like a tall, spiky flower. And remember that it's an impression. We're creating an impression of something. I blow that away, and I keep coming down. And you can see I'm twisting. And I'm twisting. And that's 2 loops. If you want, you can then go back in and you can add a little bit more. You can make your flower a little bit larger, because these are the flowers, the pink and the purple. And I've got my green stem. And I'm just going to put one more up here at the top, and then I'm going to put some leaves in. I'm going to put one right over here. I juxtapose the flowers down the stem. I don't want anything to look too even. And when I trim my tails, I do trim them so that they are even with the loops. So there's a tail, and I'm going to trim that down. And I'm going to make sure that they're not sticking out, okay? Just trim your tails down. Then I'll go back in, and I'm going to do a leaf. I'm going to put a leaf next to each of these flowers. And when I do my leaf, I leave a loop. Just like that. It's one loop. So it's a tail, a loop, and a tail. And you can see how that kind of pokes up, but it gives you an interesting look. It's something a little bit different. And when people look at your work and you've pixelated, they're going to immediately go to the area that has the texture. So it's going to draw attention. And I'll put another maybe leaf in here. Remember, it's a tail, and then I've got a loop, and then I'm going to trim that. And then I'm going to keep working down the stem. Now, I hope that this has given you a pretty good idea about what pixelating is. Look for other videos. I'm going to be doing some more videos this year on other things regarding dyeing as well as just hooking. So stand by for that, and also for my new book, The Color Planning Secret, that's coming out in February. Thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting some of you when I'm out traveling and teaching.